Okay, good morning, Dennis. It is Saturday morning, July 30th at about 9:15, and I'm here with Dennis, who is one of our, not our newest, but one of our newer annual members. And let's bring that back up. I didn't mean to take that down. We're going to do a few things. We're going to briefly take a look at what Dennis did last week, what he's been working on. Then, secondly, we're going to go to the SMC, Stock Market Caddy Mod K strategy, review exactly the options that we have built in. We continue to make some tweaks to it. So if you are currently an annual member, I think you're going to find this helpful. So bear with us. We'll try to do this as quickly as possible, and then we'll bring it to a close and answer Dennis's questions. This is a scorecard that Dennis gave to us this past week, which is beautiful. And as you can see in the scorecard, he was running the ES contract. He was running Renko charts. He was running the Mod K strategy. And he was running it on a 3-point interval. Would have been 3-point. This is his trade count. These are his gross profits, gross loss, his daily profit factor, winning trades. A lot of detail here that that we like to know, which is a beautiful thing. A total of just 7 trades, gross profit, gross loss, giving him a profit factor of 5.73. And winning, very, very good. He's trading primarily during normal session hours and trading primarily in the morning. Now, he was using the new updated SMC Mod K strategy. And Dennis presumably didn't have any issues with it. I hope you didn't if you ran with it last week. But Dennis may have been using the clocks. And if he was using the clocks, he wouldn't have seen any issues. But this past week, we were running it, and we did see some issues. And so we've made those adjustments. I'm going to walk Dennis through all the options that are available on the Mod K. And we're going to send him an update, and we're going to send all of our annual members an updated version of Mod K. So when you get this video, enjoy. And when you get the file that's attached with it, just simply download and overwrite what you have. As a courtesy, any annual member that has questions about the specifics of the strategy or anything else for that matter, please don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, that goes as well. I mean, monthly members, if you have questions about what it is we're doing. What we're not going to do in this video is get into the process that Dennis and I and other annual members have discussed. There is very specific process that takes 1 to 3 weeks to go through to make the start to becoming more mechanical, more robotic. But we're not going to take the time this morning to discuss those specific steps. But annual members, monthly members that might be curious, or other folks that might see this video, they're as important as the strategy is the instruction on how to use that strategy, but also on how to approach, in our view, your mechanical trading. If you come at this and from a day-to-day thing, then I think a person's going to have a very, very hard time getting to this type of performance week in and week out. So thank you, Dennis. And so we're going to go right here, right now, and we're going to just keep rolling. We got everything being recorded. All right, so we're going to stay with Renko here, but the Mod K strategy can run on any chart. And is there some spuriousness with any of the advanced bar types? There could be some spuriousness. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot with Mod K, but person would need to define that for themselves. Before I even pull up the strategy, though, if you are a person that is doing a lot of testing and tracking of your trades, and you don't want to see, and you're using advanced bar types, and you don't want to see them shift or move at the end of the day when you might turn the strategy off and on and they get filled with historical data. As a friendly reminder, we suggest that you anchor your advanced bar type. And rather than choosing 6 weeks back, we would suggest you choose, as an example, let's just choose, we'll go back 4 weeks, July 1. Anchor it so that you'll see less shifting, because this chart is going to start today on July 1, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. This chart is going to start on July 1. It won't be rolling forward and shifting your data. We can discuss that, what that's all about. Just know, once you've done that, I usually put it to the first of the previous month, that gives me about 4 to 5 weeks. Just know that you've done it, because if you leave it there for 6 months, TradeStation isn't going to give you more than 6 months of tick data, and they'll start cropping it. All right, so we're going to hit OK. That's going to repopulate. Okay, so we've got our chart set up. The strategy that we've loaded in and that we've attached to everybody. And by the way, annual members, I apologize. Whenever we send out a new strategy or an updated strategy, we usually do it in a beta form, a beta designation, and we usually get that out to a handful of people, and we put it through a shakedown cruise, a testing period. I didn't do it in this instance, and I should have, because there were a couple of issues there, and but we since found them. But in the future, when we update, we will make sure that it's a beta and that we put it through, a fairly rigorous and thorough shakedown so that you don't have any issues. But regardless, I think it's good practice, whether the strategies are coming from us or from wherever, even your own, that you do some initial verification, validation that the strategy is at minimum working properly. So we're going to do that this morning. Hopefully we don't find any other anomalies, but so let me show you what I mean. So let's go right to the strategy itself. And this is it, SMC Mod K strategy. And of course, you're an annual member, it's got your name right after it. So we're going to customize. And here are the options. And we're going to go through. It's going to take us a little time, but I want to go through each one of the options and the power that you're going to have here. The reason being is what we're trying to do is to make the strategies more user-friendly, provide more optionality so that you can make rather quick and easy changes. And we're trying to standardize a base set of inputs, and you can see there's quite a few of them, and that you can work with from all the strategies. Now, it'll take us probably months to update, all the stuff that's in our library now, but this is ultimately the goal. There's a secondary reason for this too. The code to do this, the code becomes more complicated for us to do it, but we're trying to make it not complicated but more simple and more effective for a person to use these strategies. Also, we're trying to plan for the future, that when we do this sort of thing and set up the code this way, it's going to give us the capacity to be able to build what could be an adjunct to these inputs, where inputs become, in essence, variables where they're making adjustments during the course of the day, a little like an AI function. Okay, so now that all said, if a person doesn't want to use any of these, we set them all to false. They all have on-off switches. We set them all to false. So if a person wants to just simply run a strategy with nothing on it, no optionality, you can. You don't have to use all of this or any of it. The strategy, as you can see, is being populated on here. So let's go through step by step, and this is how we validate it. So I'm going to take that time because it's important, and I want to take this time here because we think it's also important that you feel confident in what you have and you feel confident in what we're doing, because ultimately, you're going to be spending time and you're going to be spending money, on your trading, and we want you to know what you have and what we've done. So the first option, and by the way, the order that they come in needs to be in an order that is computer friendly or computer processor. If we don't put these inputs in an order that is computer friendly, then the computer will be spending too much time and won't run as efficiently. So the order in which these things are, they may not not fundamentally, but they may not flow exactly the way that you may have wanted to put them in. They may not flow the way I wanted to put them in, but I had to put them in a manner that is friendly to the computer processor. So the very first one is a long or short or both. So when you see, and by the way, so when you see a description, these are just little reminders. And in the beginning, we'll put these in, but if all the codes have the same thing, you're going to get real comfortable with all of these really fast. So let me just I was going to see about maybe highlighting this a little bit here. Bear with me. So when we look at this very first one right here, so we can choose long or short. So right now, this strategy, let's just close this, we'll leave that there, is running long and short. We see the orders. And I can validate this by coming to the strategy performance report, and I can see long trades and short trades. So at least I know it's ordering on what I would say both sides of the ball. Now, one could, with previous strategies, could toggle switches on and off, and we'll put this, maybe this isn't going to work as easily for me, so I'm gonna lose that little yellow box because I'm not gonna fight with Zoom on that, but because I thought it would open in the same position. It didn't. So let's say that I want to, I have a filter. Maybe it's the swing machine. Maybe it's whatever it is. Or maybe I just want to run this market, this chart long. I simply just choose one. And I hit OK. And we should, when we open this up, see just long trades, and it is just long. There are no short trades, and the strategy is exiting based on the strategy. So it is, but let's say that so we're getting into this thing keeps opening over here. Let's see if we can get it to stick. So and I don't know why once I start plugging in my inputs, I lose this print. I'm not sure if anybody's got some suggestions for me. I'd like for it to stay there. If you reload the strategy, it'll show back up. But so let's change it to 2, which is the short. And now we should see just the shorts, and there they are. And we'll come back, and if I changed it to 3, I can put it back. Now the next one is the number of contracts. So we have more and more folks trading micros, so we've loaded into the code rather than going to the properties tab. Let's say that I wanted to trade two contracts. You can just put it in, and it's going to start trading 2 contracts. 2. Now, be aware. Okay, so the purpose of this video is to, this thing keeps opening up over there, so I'm sorry I have to drag it and do this. The properties tab before, right? So this first switch is saving you from having to toggle things on and off. By the way, too, I should mention the earlier version, or the original version of your Mod K had what we call a flat spot in it. We've taken that flat spot out. Okay, so it can be put back in if somebody wanted it. But so when you're running, what I mean by this is when you're running Mod K, long and short, it's in the market, and you don't have to put on anything else. It's in the market 100% of the time. There is no flat spot. The properties tab here used to be where one could change the number of contracts. If you, where this code has this, that is rendered, that function is rendered, I'll show you, irrelevant. Okay, so you can put 2, 3, 5 in here. It isn't going to recognize it because it's looking for this one. It's in the code. All right, so the other, so we have a choice of long, short, or both. Number of contracts. What if you want to use time? Right now it's false. We're not using any time. So the timer is the first significant option, and we could set this to true. We turn it on. We're turning the clock on. The start time is 0800 and the end time is 1600. You could set this, that's 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. You could set it to whatever. If you crisscross the times, you will render it, you won't see any trades. So start time always has to be less than end time. It's got to be, okay, so I just want you to know that if you make a mistake and put in 1800 and you have 1600, you're not going to see any trades. So what we needed to do, what we found was we had to go back. And I'm going to show everybody this. It may be a little tedious, but I want you to know that it's been done. So we have to, continuously, as we add these options, crisscross things. So I have the clock on, and I need to see. Let me adjust this clock so that we can see it on the screen. We can cheat here a little bit, show you what I mean. And these inputs too, we're going to, where we're ultimately headed, I'm going to just make this 1200. Oh, I didn't even hit OK. True, I made a mistake. So true, I hit OK. And there we go. All right, so you can see right here, I know the clock is working. And you can certainly take the time to check the hours, and we have. But here is the end of the day. In the first close after the last hour, it'll stop trading. It'll close you right out. And then what we had to do is, and where we found the error, was when the clock was on, it wasn't running on the short side. So I want you to know what we did, and this is always good practice. I don't know if I finished this, is what you want to validate. So I set this back on the long side. And there are these, here's my timer, and so you get the idea. Here is just the long side using the clock. So we're validating, we're not looking for results, trying to, that this is exactly what we're going to trade, but I'm validating that the program is doing what we intended it to do. And what happened last week was it, I believe on the short side, on one of these conditions, we weren't getting the orders. And so here it is. It knows that it's short, and it won't place any orders. And we come back in, and here they are on the short side. And then we can put this back in. So this is what it's tedious to validate. Now, next week, too, by the way, I am going to continue to run this, and I will be running this in every configuration that I can possibly dream up, not for any kind of performance, but just as a shakedown cruise to make sure that everything is doing exactly what we want. We're 99.9, But because of last week, we're going to take another week to do this before we start pushing out into other strategies and adopting this. So here we have long and short number of contracts, and now we have a timer switch. And if I don't want it, I get set it as false. The next option is a trade counter, and it's set as false. What if you wanted to set that as true? Turn it on. What if you only wanted to trade two times? You're only going to get, now let's just go look at the performance report. I go to the performance report, I'm running long and short. And here it is, long and short. So it's running. I come to the periodicals and I see number of trades 3. Darn, I thought it was only going to trade twice. Okay, so let me show you something, what happens. I want you to be aware. Edit strategy. Customize. I'm going to change this to just long, right? So I'm going to change it just to running long. So now it's long, 2 contracts, my timer, my trade counter at 2. And I'm going to go look at the trade count. Here's the pair 2. So what happens, and there's no way around this, when you're running long or short and you use the trade counter, it's going to be exact. You're only going to get, whatever the number is. 1, 2 trades. When you're running it long and short, you'll always get one more. If the trades are there, you'll usually get one more trade than the number you put in. And I won't get caught up on that, but it's just how the code functions. It's got to count the existing trade, and where you're going long and short, it always gives us one more trade. So it's not a fault of the code. If any of our software engineer members are out there, no way of getting around that, they can let me know, but I wasn't able to program around that. And I don't think there is an out, but I want everyone to be aware. So let's keep moving. Now, this portion here, I will draw a box around it because it's important. And I would have liked to have put it first, but the computer wouldn't have been efficient. So it's this area right in here. Now this area pertains to the guts, the brains, if you will, of the strategy. This is all kind of like preliminary stuff. Just getting yourself set up. What time do you want to run? How many contracts you want to run? How many trades might you want to trade? But this is actually the brains. And every strategy is going to have the brains. And they're going to need to fall in the middle because you got to get the preliminary stuff set up first. And you have some choices here. The defaults are very good. I think for the most part, you could probably leave, I want everyone to know, you could probably leave things on the defaults and be just fine. But if you want to get in and you want to do some tweaking, this is on any strategy, this is where you would go. We're going to try to use the same order and even the same words, because they more or less, even though they may not be doing exactly the same thing, and they aren't, but they more or less affect things in a similar vein. So let me explain what they are. Price. The default is close. You can actually use open, close, or something called typical price. I almost never use open, but you could. I almost always use close. Sometimes I use typical price. What is typical price? It isn't the close and it isn't the open. It's the middle of a brick. It's the middle of a bar. It takes the high and the low. I think it's the high and the low and divides by 2. So it's basically the middle. And it's a reserved word at TradeStation. So you could do that. Why would you do that? It might smooth out the performance a little bit. The next one is SMC. SMC is for stock market caddy, and we have to put a little underline here because it can't have a space. So that's why we separate words with a little underscore, because the code must be continuous when it recognizes these in the code. SMC sensitivity, and it is just that. It's sensitivity. In this particular code, there are 4 options. 1 is the least sensitive. 2, more sensitive. 3, most sensitive. And 4, extremely sensitive. The only thing I can tell you about this, because this gets into our proprietary nature and some of our other programs, is that I wouldn't get too neurotic or anal about any of this too much. But if you start out with 1 and have everything set and then set it as 2 or 3 or 4, you could then look at your results. I think as you increase, you will see probably more trades and a little better performance. That may or may not be what you want, though. So, but that's where it goes. Frequency, 20 in this case. Now we suggest 10 to 50. And we say increment of 1, we're going to come back, and that is if you do any optimization. Frequency and variance are going to be common to almost all the programs. The greater the number on frequency, the slower the program or the strategy, for the Mod K or for any. So it affects the speed, the number of trades. Set it really small, it's going to be trading really, really fast and really frequent, which you may not want. In the beginning, folks think they want that, but you may not. If there's some spuriousness in the program, the faster it trades, then the more magnified the spuriousness is. Okay, so I think as a person, and Dennis is here, but we're speaking to everybody that might be hearing this. I think that as your trading matures, I think you come to realize that you begin to in the beginning you're inclined to trade really fast and get the program to trade really fast. As one's trading matures, you begin to slow down. That's just been our experience. And then variance. Variance. Speed, volatility, and the tighter you make the variance, the more sensitive it's also going to be in the speed, in affect the number of trades. The larger you take it, and we suggest 0.50 to about 3, but you can certainly experiment, increment of 0.05, and this is the guts of what it is. Okay, so and we'll come back and tweak those, but I'm not going to adjust them now. Let me just pause for a moment. Okay, so we're going to keep rolling. Now, let's lose this bracket. The next option here is percent trailer. Percent trailer, tier 1, percentage in floor amount. What is that referring to? And by the way, before this group right here, if you put in, we can't possibly check every combination, right? Because there's millions of probably permutations here. But if you put in permutations that overstress a code, you always want to check to see if there are any orders on the screens at all. And if you find that there are no orders on the screen, maybe let us know. But it could very well be that you have overstressed, or understressed the parameters, and it'd be for instance, crisscrossing, the times, and the code just like freaks out and there are no orders. If you put the variance, at 50, there's probably going to be no orders. Percent trailer, tier 1 switch, you turn it on. Percentage, 50%, floor amount 200. And we'll probably change these defaults now that I see them here. We have yet another, and let's just show you another trailer right here. Percent trailer tier 2 switch, and a percentage and a dollar amount, and we even have a third one. What is happening here? What you don't have to use these. I can't. If I slide down, we're gonna miss them. I'll go ahead and do it anyway. So this is gonna reposition here that drawing. So there's actually one here, and one here. What they're doing is you don't have to use them, but if you decide to do this, is what we call a chandelier effect. And let's say you go into a trade here. The trade runs up in your account and you're up $100, and you turned on tier 1 and you trail 90%. Well, once you hit $100, you should be, operative word should be, you let us know, if you come back 90% and make $10, you'll be out. So that'd be tier 1. But what if price continues to run and it runs up to 300 and you have your tier 2 on? If you have tier 1 on, and then it's got to come back 90%. But if you have tier 2 on here and it's set at 50%, once you hit 300, you come back 50% at 150, you're guaranteed to make 150. And then if you have, and you put as many of these in, but we put 3 in, and let's say this is 500 for tier 3, if you hit tier 3 and pull back whatever the percentage is, 10%, then you're guaranteed to make 450. That's what tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 percent trailers are doing. Any questions on that, let us know. So let's clear all this and we'll keep moving. Now we'll be running all sorts of tests to check the validity of these and the functionality of these. We have used them in the past. The accuracy can vary a little bit. Okay, so you don't want to be so precise, shaving them by 1 or 2%, or, from 200 to 220 or something like that, shaving them really close. And it can vary, the accuracy can vary depending upon the chart that's being used. Any observations, any inconsistencies, value, any other ideas that folks have, please don't hesitate. And but then what we do, we leave the percent trailers behind, and so here's tier 3, and then we have a profit target long switch. Turn that true, and then we have a profit amount, and this one's set at $1,000. That is a profit target. So if your account runs up $1,000 or whatever that number is, so if we had our trailers running and then cap it, that would trigger. We also put on a short switch, and so you can set a short profit amount, and we'll fix these to default to better values so they're more consistent here, but they'll be the same. It would be the same, the same idea. A break-even switch. We put in a break-even switch. Now, these could all be added a la carte, but our experience is if you can build these exits into a code that is efficient, the computer will work better and the code will work better. The break-even switch, if you turn it on and you set the floor amount at 300, what happens is if it runs up to $300 and comes back to where you entered, you'll come out and break even. You could achieve much the same using a 90% trailer, but a break even is here. And then a stop loss outlier switch. And it's a stop loss switch. And we call it an outlier switch because we think that if you set a stop loss so tight where you're trying to reduce or eliminate risk, you will trade too much and get stopped out, stopped out, stopped out. The idea of a stop loss is to keep something from really, really bad happening, but allowing a strategy to breathe and to trade without interference from the referee. If you put the referee right on top of the play, then the play never gets to play out. And then this is only for backtesting purposes. If you are doing some backtesting and you want the strategy to end on the last brick on the chart, you can set this as true, and the strategy will close on the last brick if it's in an open position. But this does not play in the real world, and you want to make sure that it's set to false. It's only for backtest only. So those are the base set of options that we have thus far on the Mod K. We're going to continue to vet and test them in all sorts of configurations next week, a shakedown cruise. I invite folks to use them to the extent that they make your life easier. Hopefully, if you see any anomalies, any issues, definitely let us know. We also have one or two other base inputs that we would like to do. We haven't put them in, so there still might be another version of Mod K in another week. And that input is a daily profit or loss switch, where if this strategy loses you $500 or makes you $500, it just stops trading. We're still vetting that out for accuracy, but it could be there in another week. The other switch is an account equity switch, where if your account hits a certain number, maybe it's, it makes $1,000 or loses $1,000, and all the strategies have that account equity switch, but maybe you're running multiple charts. If your account hits those levels, all trading comes to an end. It just locks it up. But those present some other issues, and we're not in a place where we want to add them quite yet. But just know that it's possible, and if someone wants to, in particular, wants that and wants to be part of the beta testing, let us know, and I'm happy to send you a code, and you can help us vet that out. Now, so these are the base inputs that we're thinking of settling in. Quite a few, but all meant to help make life easier. You don't have to use any of them, though. You can just leave them as is. Down the road, there'll be another switch that you can use AI. And what AI will be doing is making adjustments on the fly during the day. Maybe the code is running long, maybe it's running short, maybe the profit targets are adjusting, all kinds of possibilities. But we're trying to set up our code so that we can really grow and do some phenomenal things down the road. All right. So we're 39 minutes in, and what I want to I'm going to pause for one moment. Okay, so you have all these inputs to hopefully make your life easier. Also, though, we can use these inputs in a very powerful way to optimize. What do I mean? For the time that's on this chart, I could optimize and ask the computer, should I be running long, short, or both? And let me show you as an example. Now, optimization and backtesting. I'm not suggesting that people optimize to over-optimize and curve fit and all with the idea in mind of getting this, perfect backtest. I'm not. I'm just saying that optimization can help decide various things that might influence your trading. That's all. I don't want to overweight the back test. You still got to have a forward swing if we equate it with golf. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to optimize, and I'm going to ask the computer from 1 to 3, increment of 1. Now, I don't have anything else on. Okay, I don't. And I don't have any of these inputs on. And I could do this, but I'm just going to ask the computer, so this is going to be very fast. Should I be trading long, short, this strategy, long, short, or both? So I'm going to hit OK. This is the idea. And we're going to hit exhaustive. And the computer will go through the tests and hopefully will tell me is the idea. And as you do this, definitely let us know what you see and experience, right? Again, there are unlimited possibilities here. And we're trying to do something a little bit new. And we're going to see, I think it came back just on the short side. So you might say, well, that's because the market's been going down or market's been going up. So let's go look. We look at the performance report. Okay, so for the criteria. So we're not getting into any testing. I just want to see the input. What did it come back with? And okay, so in this instance, it actually came back with 3, which is good. So it actually said, you know, for the criteria that you get set up, you really should run this long and short. All right, so that's how we could do it. You could even optimize the number of contracts. You could optimize. Now, remember, the computer, when you're optimizing, the computer wants to trade a lot. It will always try to trade as much as it can. That may be a good thing, that may be a bad thing. So be aware of that. The other, now on the clocks, maybe we want to decide, and we're going to optimize. I don't know what the start time should be. So maybe I want to know, I don't want to trade before 0400, and so I don't want to start before 0400, and I want to be trading by 0800. And oops, so I'm going to ask the computer, and I'm going to go increment of, I won't do 1 minute here because I want to move quickly, so I'll say 5 minutes. And here, now you got to make sure you don't crisscross the times or the computer code will get fooled. What I mean is I can't go under 800, so I got to start. So let's say I want to go to at least 10 o'clock, which would be 1000, but I want to be done by noon. 1200, and I'm going to go increment of 5 minute. And now I'm going to optimize. It's got 3000, going to take us a little bit longer. And hopefully this is going to come back and it's going to tell us for the settings that this program is set at, for the chart that it's on, for this market, it's now going to tell us, at least in the past X number of weeks since July 1, what would have been the best time to run. Does it have value? Don't know. You would have to work with it and measure your performance over an extended sample period of time and compare and contrast. So that's always what we're doing. We're comparing and contrasting what we're actually able to do with what we've tested in the past. And there may be things that you think are valuable that may be proved to be that aren't. And in maybe others they are. So we're going to let this run, and I'm going to just pause this video for a moment to maximize everybody's time. We'll come back and take a look. Okay, so we're back to recording. So it's finished, and we don't see any orders on here, but let's make sure that there are some, and there are. It's because the timer has given us our parameters, and we're basically done over here. So what did the computer come back with as an example? So we come back and we look, and now I'm not trying to suggest any specific settings or anything. We're just demonstrating what's possible now. So the timer set was true. The start time, it ended up, the computer says, yeah, start at 4. And that makes sense because the computer, you know what? It likes to start early. It loves to trade. Probably loves to trade, as much as anybody. And notice also on the ending time, 10:10 though. It didn't have to go to noon. Now, don't derive anything from this because I got 2 contracts and I didn't put any other inputs in here. But I'm just demonstrating that some of these inputs could be optimized, and they could be optimized, one by one. I'm not suggesting that a person optimize every single input, every single one, everything, and do what we call torture the data to have some perfectly looking equity curve that is just not, it's just the data has been so tortured that it's not likely to perform anywhere close to the backtest. But this kind of concludes the options that we have built into ModK. We found a couple of anomalies last week, and I apologize. I think we got through them. I thought we did last week, but I will be running this specific program this week and all sorts of configurations, just testing, and basically a shakedown cruise, a validation process to make sure that everything is doing what we had intended. We're going to continue to work with the daily profit and the account equity stop to see if we can get that to where we want it. And then I just invite folks to, as Dennis has done, share with us your success, your challenges on any of it, what you like, what you don't like. And then once we're satisfied with ModK that we can leave it behind, we will recreate the tutorial in the library so that everyone understands. We have a little video library on all of these. And then we're going to begin to incorporate these inputs, these exact same. Now, they may change a little bit in here from strategy to strategy, but all the other inputs, all these modules will be there. Our goal is on all strategies. So this would be the TPC, this would be the bow tie, this would be point and figure. Everything is our goal. It will take a long time, but bear with us. If you have a specific strategy that you love, that you're running with, and say, Don, I really need to have them in there now, or I really need to have this one feature in there, let us know, and I will try to accommodate and rush that out, or at least get that out to you. So please know that. We continue. For the folks that have been with us, they know. For the folks that maybe took a break from trading, we're constantly growing and expanding, right? We're not doing exactly the same thing that we did, a year ago or 2 years ago. We continue to grow and challenge ourselves. We're not radically changing our process. We have a process that we do our trading with, Susie and I. We don't radically change that, but we do improve. We do, and trying to have an eye for the future of where things are going. And the other piece to this too is when you think about how and why we're doing these inputs is then to begin to think, which I don't want to go any further on this video, about hedging. Being able to quickly set up a chart over here, have one running long, have another one running short, and have them hedging each other. Ultimately, we would like to have a switch within the code and actually have a hedging switch, which we'll save that for down the road. So and then bottom line is, if anyone feels kind of overwhelmed, I hope you don't. you don't have to use any of it. You can just say, I appreciate all that, Don. Mod K, I like it just the way that it is. You don't have to turn any of the switches on. Or maybe you just use just the profit target, or maybe you just use one aspect of it. Entirely up to you. You don't have to use it all. And I'm sure there are things that I've forgotten here, but let me just pause this video right here, and then I'm going to come back with Dennis and give Dennis a chance to ask some questions. And those that are hearing this on a taped version, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to sing out. Okay. All right, Dennis. Did that make sense to you?
Yes. I was trying to figure out this speaker and microphone
No problem.
of mine, so I'm gonna need to revisit the video again.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah.
Any questions or anything that from it?
No, not really. Everything is pretty much clear as far as I get.
All right. Well, that's it. I don't want to make it any longer than it needs to be. You'll want to go back and reference anything. We're going to be, again, we're going to stay with Mod K this week. We're going to run it this way, that way, profit targets, everything, with no regard for performance, just trying to give it a shakedown cruise, to vet all these options that we like. And these are some of the options that some of the strategies have pieces of them. But I think being able to, push one button to go long, go short, makes it a lot easier than have to go in and start toggling switches and doing that sort of thing. So that's the idea. All right, so I'm going to bring at least the video to a close and say thank you to everybody. Thank you to Dennis. Dennis, I'll hang with you here in a minute. And as always, friendly reminder, any code you get from us, any code you do your own, any code you get from anybody, I think the first thing is, in a simulated environment, validate that it's at least executing in a manner that you would expect. For instance, you plug it in and you don't see any orders. We had that happen once, and we made a mistake on the date. Or you set it up to run from 8 to 2 on just the short side, and you don't see any orders on the shorts. Okay, so that there's something wrong in that case. There should be some orders. Now it could be your parameters, but there could be something in a code. So you always want to just validate that it's at least ordering and that it's there. And we're human, and especially when we're sending out the programs, we don't, it's possible there could be a mistake. They're painstaking to set, but we try to get them right. And but you might have a code from someplace else, and you want to make sure. So with that, we're going to just close out this little video and say thank you to everybody. And those that have made themselves available for beta testing, thank you. It really does help. And if you're going to share your good and bad experiences, we'll try to act as a conduit for everybody so that we can all learn from each other. I will say this, Dennis is running Mod K on Rinko. And doing pretty well, very well. Adam has been running Mod K for some time and doing very well. And I also have this is a text I got from Caleb, and Caleb been getting $100. He's getting $100 target between 8 and 8:30 every day this week. 2 minis, MNQ. It's been great. Now, I think Caleb, he may not be running Mod K. I think he might be doing basically the Zinger and or Bowtie. So that was his thing. And I can't emphasize enough, though, for the benefit of everybody. If you are moving from strategy to strategy, from chart to chart to chart, day after day after day, I think you're going to hurt your confidence and your consistency. There is a process for getting. We have learned this, and so we may even have folks that have been hearing from years ago. We have learned the steps that a person needs to take to become more mechanical, and they're very specific. Dennis, we shared those with you, over and over, and with Caleb, and it's been very, I think, helpful. So, current annual members, if you haven't done those steps and you're not sure what they are, let us know. We'll walk you through, and anyone else that might be passing by, those steps are critically important. Okay, I'm going to say thank you.